Welcome back to the Nick Taylor Horror Show. Stephen Chiodo is an American writer, director, and special effects makeup artist and one of the legendary Chiodo Brothers. The Chiodo Brothers are a trio of special effects and stop-motion artists and animators best known for their work on Team America World Police, Critters, and Killer Klowns from Outer Space, which Stephen also directed. The Chiodos also created the claymation sequences for the Large Marge scene from Pee-wee's Big Adventure, as well as the stop-motion elements in the North Pole scenes from Elf. Stephen's latest feature is Alien Xmas, an animated feature which he directed. When extraterrestrials attempt to steal Earth's gravity, only the gift-giving spirit of Christmas and a small alien named X can save the world. Executive produced by Jon Favreau, don't forget to check out Alien Xmas this holiday season, now streaming on Netflix. Also on today's episode is none other than the one and only Sig Neutron. Sig is no stranger to the show, and like Steven, is also a special effects makeup artist, director, and creature designer. Sig has done effects work on multiple movies, including Tron Legacy, Sucker Punch, and Star Trek Discovery. It was on Face Off Season 7, then again on Season 11 as one of the Face Off All-Stars. Sig also hosts a podcast that I love called Sig Neutron's Sputron, available everywhere you listen. And he also does a pretty cool series of live streams on Twitch where he breaks down his special effects makeup techniques. So if you're not already, make sure you follow Sig Neutron on all of the social medias. We had a pretty wide-ranging conversation, the three of us. Both of these guys are really fascinating and very accomplished artists. So we got into everything from creative processes to practical effects and geeked out about everybody's new favorite artists, shows, and movies. So get ready for some recommendations here. Quick note that this interview was done way back in May. In any case, I hope you all enjoy this conversation with Stephen and Sig as much as I did. Without further ado, here are Stephen Chiodo and Sig Neutron. Hey guys, how's it going?
As best as it could be expected.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
With all this extra time, how, Stephen, what are you working on? How are you able to fill the unprecedented amount of time that we're all seeming to have?
Well, things haven't changed that much. I mean, I'm working on my current project, Alien Christmas, stop motion special we're producing for Netflix. Although I'm not on stage with the crew, I'm at home reviewing dailies, effect shots, and music cues, sound effects, and all the post-production work is continuing as we speak.
Oh, nice. So is Alien Christmas, does that have the same kind of, in terms of the creatures and characters, does it have the same vibe as a lot of the other work that you and your brothers have done?
It's hard for me to tell because I'm so close, but I think it has a Chiodo Brothers kind of style to it.
Yeah.
It's we were inspired by the Rankin and Bass specials when we were little kids, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and all those. So this is very much a Rankin and Bass holiday special.
Nice.
Kind of, it harkens back to the 60s style that they started. So in that sense, it's not a Chiodo Brothers character design style, but the sensibility is kind of ours. I wouldn't say it's snarky, but it has like a little mean edge. I mean, the premise is a race of aliens who go around the universe stealing from every civilization they can find. They're just a bunch of kleps. In fact, that's their name. They're kleps. And they come to Earth, and they decide to steal Earth's gravity so that all the objects will kind of float into outer space and they'll kind of suck them up in their vacuum ships.
Whoa.
So they sent our main character, X, the smallest little alien, to go on the mission to build a gyrotron, this horrible machine that's going to sap Earth's gravity. But in the interim, he's mistaken as a doll, a gift, and he's given to this little elf girl. And when he's actually given as a gift, that something magical happens. That exchange of giving and receiving is something he's never experienced before, and he changes. Oh. And now he wants to stop the invasion. So it's sort of like an action-packed invasion holiday special. Same old. Same old,
yeah. No, that sounds pretty. And it's all three.
It's amazing.
All three of you guys are working on it, right? It's all the Chiodos.
Oh yeah. My brother Charlie was on the design team. My brother Edward's producing, and I'm directing. And it actually is based on a book that a friend of mine, Jim Strain, and I wrote, and my brother illustrated years ago. And we finally were able to kind of pitch it around town and got it produced through Netflix.
That's great.
And our executive producer, who helped really put it over the top, is Jon Favreau.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then working with Jon has been a trip. It's just been really great.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So how did he come on board? How did you get him involved? Because he has a soft spot in his heart for claymation and stop motion, from what I understand. He did something called, I think it was Hobgoblins, which was like a stop motion VR experience, which seemed counter to the some of the other stuff that he's been doing. But how did he jump on board?
Oh yeah, he loves stop motion. He's a real fan. In fact, we first met on Elf. We did the animation effects on Elf. Again, it was a Rankin and Bass style that he wanted to kind of infuse as a wraparound for his show. And it worked out really well. He was really pleased with it. So once we knew Jon from our Elf experience, he was always in the back of our mind for this or any other project we had. So we came up with the book and pitched it to him, and he kind of took to it. Yeah, it was after Elf. Yeah.
That's super cool.
And he helped us get it sold. I mean, we were around town for years trying to sell a property, and it really didn't catch on until he was attached and helped us get it over the top.
That's
I remember like back when we first started hanging out, you showed us the book, and that was a long time ago. So it's cool to see you guys finally like getting it going. You know? Well,
you talk about getting a career or getting a project going. That was a tack we took with that project. I mean, we came up with the idea of an Alien Christmas as a special, but as a concept, pitching it to networks, and they loved it, but they just wouldn't greenlight it. So we figured the best step would be to create a property. So we actually made the book. And the book is really a sales tool to sell a property.
Smart.
I mean, the sales of the book were kind of small because we had a small publisher. It was published as a hardcover book. It wasn't self-published, but still it didn't have the numbers that a lot of big studios wanted. But still, when you're pitching an idea and you hand them a book, it's more of a tangible property. They give it much more bankability and clout, and that really helped us sell it.
That's smart. So you always saw it as a movie, but did the book as basically a way to pitch the movie, to make it something tangible that people could visualize better. That's super smart. I think there's something huge there.
That's interesting. That's kind of the take that we're just sort of intuitively taking with Bizarro Go-Go now too, because it's like we already made the book, and it's almost like a big proof of concept, like already out there.
That's it.
Yeah. So we'll see where that goes.
I would love to see that as a show.
Oh yeah, we'll start with that. Yeah, I would love to see that as a show. In fact, Sig and I have been working on a project, one or two, and over the years trying to get our combined vision together.
Oh yeah, what are you guys working on?
Go-Go.
Or as much as you're allowed to talk about, what are you guys working on together?
Oh, we can talk. Go ahead, Sig.
Yeah. So we had Brandy and I had Bizarro Go-Go,
right?
And then Stephen, I think we met did we meet at the Hive Gallery or something?
Yes. It's a great gallery here in downtown Los Angeles called the Hive Gallery, run by
Nathan Cartwright.
It's really great. That's where I met Sig for the first time. I saw his sculptures, and whenever I see new artists in art, whether it's 2D, 3D, or whatever, I always say, wow, what would that look like in stop motion? And Sig's three-dimensional sculptures are just tailor-made for stop motion. Just the design style, I could just see the way they would move. So we met there at the gallery, and I just loved his work, met Randy as well. And we started brainstorming, what can we do together? So they had Bizarro Go-Go, and we had an idea called Channel 8 from Outer Space. And in some ways, they were kind of similar as far as they were presenting new characters, little short subject type of ideas under the banner of a larger concept. And we started pursuing Channel 8 from Outer Space.
Yeah, it's kind of like we were going to bring our like weird, quirky characters to the table, and then you kind of had like a wraparound with like an alien TV station that would be intercut with like, and then the Bizarro stuff would be kind of what's on the TV, and it was just like, and we still like, I think we still want to get this going. I think it's weird. Like, I don't know, man, the more I'm like living life, it's just, I'm realizing everything has its time. And I have no doubt that at some point we're going to sync up, and it's going to be the perfect moment. And it's going to be like, yes, now we're making something.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I guess the basic premise is just a little pirate TV station on an asteroid somewhere out in the universe. And he just steals signals from all these other planets. So it really is alien TV being broadcast through this little pirate TV station. So we have our cast of characters, the intern, the sexy alien secretary, the mean asshole boss. So we follow their tiny little stories as wraparounds while we just kind of jump into the content, which are commercials and news programs and movies from all over the universe. And it's a variety of effects techniques. It's puppets, it's live action, it's animatronics, it's cartoons.
God, that sounds
with
amazing.
The work that Sig does, I mean, Chiodo Brothers never really focused on makeup effects. So linking up with Sig and his team, brings a whole world of live action characters to our show.
The idea of your two worlds coming together, that would be unbelievable.
I'd love to see it.
I know, right? It's crazy because like just growing up and being so inspired by the Chiodo Brothers and Killer Klowns from Outer Space and Critters and like all these, like that's what like formed who I was as an artist. And then to come out here and then just like serendipitously meet like Steven and then we start talking and then like we really hit it off and I'm just like, man, that's like I always like just geek out over the Chiodos all the time. I'm still like geeking out right now that we're even talking. Like, I don't know. I'll never not funny. Geek out over you guys.
But it was really great because when I saw your work, it was a refreshing look. I mean, the stuff, we're older and a lot of our stuff has roots in the 50s and the 60s, which is all the stuff we love. And it kind of gets kind of old and traditional, but you, Sig, you have the same sensibilities, but you've got this fresh take on it that's really in your face. Punch you in your face with both the grossness and the sexuality that I just think is really, really great. So for me, it's like old school and new school kind of mashed up together. I can't wait to do something. It would be fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't wait to see it too. I mean, my God, that would sound unbelievable. Yeah.
Time will tell.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And now we have formats. We've got these new formats now, these streaming people kind of fighting for content. Mm-hmm. I think there's more opportunities than ever before. You got these little experimental shows out there. Get a response and start building some kind of a fan base. And Sig, you've got a hell of a fan base too from all your work. Bringing those two together would be really powerful.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I think that when we first got together and started coming up with Channel 8 and like mixing the ideas together, I think we were a little bit ahead of our time in a sense because, Netflix wasn't buying all these shows. Like the streaming platform wasn't huge. Like there's all these different avenues now to circumvent. Like, because back when we were basically, it was like we'd have to make a pitch and pitch it to a studio or something, mm-hmm. and now there's just so many. I mean, there's still that route, but there's just so many other routes to take now. And I think now and then, you guys have been doing your work off like in your ways, and then we've been doing ours. And it's like, we've both been growing our brands and exploring new avenues. And now I think it's like, look, we're just somehow like, Nick brought us together to have this conversation now. It's like everything just sort of like coming full circle back to, yeah.
Oh, and what's really cool about it, to talk about the Sign of the Times, a component of the show was to kind of elicit content from the viewers. Because so many people are making content. So if they had an idea for like a 30-second spot, even a bumper, a 10-second bumper, send it up to us. We'll put it on the air.
So the concept of having alien broadcasts or alien TV shows means people could have created their own 10-second bumpers or commercials or whatever they wanted, and we would put it on Channel 8.
That's so cool. I love that idea because there's so many young up-and-coming effects artists who are doing amazing stuff on Instagram, like Adam Doherty, Creature Kid. He's putting some awesome stuff out there. I mean, some of the, particularly effects artists, they have amazing work, and it's on Instagram, which is great, but it feels like it's a shame, and it should go to a wider audience and potentially have higher production value, and put some Netflix money behind it. But they seem like they really want to start championing new voices in animation, like with their, what was it, Love, Sex, and Robots? Love, Death, and Robots?
Oh, yeah. There was David Fincher's project. It was really great.
Oh, Fincher was behind that. I didn't realize that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think animation right now is like really hot because like with, COVID, like shutting down productions, like you still make animations like, that because you don't have to have a whole crew, Yeah.
No, that's exactly. You can work remotely. All the animation, the effects, all the voice recording, all of it. So I think it is, it won't be much of a glitch here. In our
going to be seeing a lot of animation. Yeah. Any new cartoons that you guys are particularly into?
The Midnight Gospel that actually just came out on Netflix too. I'm like so into that.
It's causing flashbacks for me in some cases.
I gotta write that down. What was that? Midnight Gospel.
Yeah, so it's basically this guy Duncan Trussell. He's had a podcast and he just talks to people and they just like explore the nature of our own existence and stuff. And he talks about and it's so fun. And then basically the Midnight Gospel, they take audio from the podcast and they animate it, and it's all this like trippy drugged out, like cool animations and stuff. And then he makes like silly songs. And I'm like, oh my God, like I'm like the main character, Clancy. I'm like, that's me. Holy crap. Cause I've been working on my podcast and like making silly songs and like talking about the nature of existence since like last year. And I was like, it was just really cool to see that there's like a scene that is developing. And I think people are going to start getting more into like, what are we, like, what's the point of everything
done. And the animation looks like old kind of Von Bodie sort of those droopy characters. And yeah, it's beautifully done. And it seems so different from anything that's out there. I mean, I think it's indicative of the risks that Netflix is taking and how open they are, because it's so out of left field. It's totally just out there, but it's beautifully done. I really, really like it a lot. And the guests are fascinating. But the animations is really beautiful. It's really different. But yeah, I mean, Netflix seems like they're really doubling down on animation for sure.
Oh, they really are. In fact, what's really a blast for me is that stop motion is in this incredible renaissance right now.
Yes.
I mean, Netflix is producing like 3 or 4 feature-length stop motion films.
Really?
Oh, wow. Yeah. You've got Henry Selick's project. You got Guillermo's doing Pinocchio.
Oh, I didn't realize that was stop motion.
Oh yeah. And I think it's because of technology. If you look on the internet, everybody's got the same tools we do. They've got a DSLR camera, they've got Dragon Frame, they've got computers, and they've got the same production value that we've got. And they're animating all the time. It's just and the learning curve too. The young talent is so great. It's So hopefully there'll be more of that coming out too, more avenues to present that as well.
Here's a good question. So how, like with stop motion where it's at today, how much does it evolve? And is it like way easier now to do stop motion than it used to be when you guys like first started doing it?
Well, I wouldn't use the word easy. You still have to move the puppet one frame at a time, but the Dragon Frame tool allows you to have this onion skinning capability where you can now reference your past and prior frames, which smooths out the animation incredibly. And so now young animators who are using this tool are able to kind of critique their performance while they're animating. So the learning curve is sped up incredibly, and they're getting better and better and better, faster and faster. So the quality of the animation is superior than anything we might have seen before.
So it smooths it out so you don't get that kind of jerky Harryhausen quality, which exactly. I kind of like. I mean, Wes Anderson tried to keep that in Isle of Dogs.
Yeah, if you smooth it out too much, it starts to look like CG.
Right.
And I think there's something about the handmade quality of stop motion, that little bit of a chatter that you get kind of makes it it just defines itself that it's not computer generated.
It's that tangibility that I think people really, really gravitate towards. I think that people like to know that these things were made by hand. Same thing with practical effects. I mean, but those little handmade touches, I think, really just add to the charm of it.
Oh, absolutely. Now, I think that's what truly is magical about stop motion. I mean, the audience knows that these things are little dolls, little puppets that are inanimate, but yet you're seeing them come alive. And that's the definition of magic to me.
Yeah, I heard Disney's been trying to figure out, in the midst of all of these live action remakes, they've been trying to figure out what to do with Nightmare Before Christmas. And they're thinking, do we go live action? Do we do a sequel? I'm all for a full stop motion sequel. I mean, I know it's such a just biblical property. They would have to do it right, but I would love more than anything to see.
That's a good question. I mean, if they were to translate that into live action, I wonder if most of the charm is the fact that it was stop motion.
I think it's a big part of it. I think it's a really big part of it.
Yeah, like the just the proportions of the characters and stuff. Like I can't imagine doing a real life Jack Skellington because he's just that wispy little thing. Like that's what made him. He's this little spidery,
You can't do a man in a suit. Yeah, he would be Beetlejuice. Yeah.
It's interesting too because there's something magical about like I can't do like high def films and stuff. They look like soap operas to me or something. You know, the super high def. Like there's something magical about the lower frame rate, I guess, that makes it just look like a piece of art rather than it is almost like too real. You know?
Yeah. It's that persistence of vision that I think harkens back to film at 24 frames a second. Just seeing these things moving, and it's an illusion. When you run things at 30 frames and 60 frames, that high res, it looks like the old soap operas back in the 60s.
Yeah.
You know, there's a TV reality to it that I don't know, takes away the magic. It's hard to define, but I think that's how I would describe it.
It's something your mind's eye just notices. Like I've been in Best Buy and they'll have movies playing that are super high def, or they'll have like nature stuff and it's like 60 frames per second and it just moves in such a fluid way. It just doesn't feel right. I think Ang Lee did a movie that I think was at something insane like 90 frames a second. And it didn't do very well because people just found it jarring and kind of unnerving, and it just was too fluid and just it didn't feel cinematic to people. And I feel like that's so important to have. The frame rate really makes a huge difference for sure.
I think so. And you mentioned it didn't have a film look to it, but as we go further and further and people see less and less of film, it might just be a whole new perception where that becomes reality.
That's interesting to know. Yeah. Is that a generational thing? Are we like the tail end of like, like people that enjoy that? Because that might be the new norm.
I think you're right, Sig. I think you might be the tail end of that. You like that leap into this new technology. You still have your one foot back in the film world, but and undeniably the tools now. We haven't shot any motion picture film since Elf, and I really love the flexibility of digital and what you do in post. It's really fantastic. But if it gets too clean, too clear, it's it loses that hand of the artist in my mind.
Some people are still doing film, though. Tarantino only shoots on film. Joe Bigos did Bliss on film, and that movie looks beautiful. It's beautifully done. It just has that gritty, kind of Abel Ferrara look, and it's just you can tell that it's done on film. It has it's a look.
The grain is this like mosaic pattern that you don't see, but you kind of feel the textures changing frame by frame. Yeah, and it gives some kind of a tangible quality.
Again, just like with handmade stop motion puppets and characters. Tangibility is, I think people react to that in a big way. Yeah. And I feel like that's why there's such a yearning for practical effects again, I think people are getting over digital fatigue, and they're yearning for stuff that's handmade, that has a human touch to it.
I think that Sig in your generation there, I mean, you guys grew up on the 80s and 90s films, and now with CG coming in, you guys harken back to what really inspired you, the handmade stuff. It's different, but and this is where the cycle goes. So you guys are going to create films that are going to kind of bring this stuff back. Then there's going to be another cycle that likes the early computer stuff.
I hope not.
And it's going to be grandkids, and it's this constant cycle. So it's good to say, I think it's safe to say that stop motion will never go. The traditional will never go. It'll always be a viable technique for telling stories.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting. When I first moved out to LA, everybody was telling me, don't do it, man. And this was back in 2009. They're like, don't do it. Effects is dying. Everybody's going digital. Everybody's going computers. And I was like, you know what? Like, I got to do it, man. I got to go. I got to try. And I'm so glad I did because, there was that surgence of like, everybody thought like, oh, computers are going to take over. There's no more practical. And then it started pushing more and more into that zone, and everybody was like, okay, hold up. This is not, nobody is enjoying this. And then all the directors like went way back to practical. And now they're sort of like, they're finding this balance, which I agree with. You can't deny technology. I think the balance of the two is the best way.
Totally.
The hybrid of the two is really great. Now, when we were puppeteering things, we had to hide the rods because they didn't want to do opticals to get rid of them. Now you can have a puppet with visible rods. They'll paint them out. So now you're getting the best of both worlds. You're getting an easier way to do a performance with a puppet, and they deal with it in post much more economically.
Yeah.
I think it's you guys. I mean, your generation, you were inspired by it. You're an effects creator. You're also a director designer, and you're going to be making films. So you're going to be taking that vision and going to carry it to another generation. It's going to be equally as inspired for their future.
Yeah.
So the confidence is going to go on.
That blended approach, I think, is going to be the industry standard because I think major directors are realizing the thing to do is build everything as much as you can on set. And it's not just like characters and creatures and effects. It's things like car crashes and explosions. When those are too digitized, your mind's eye doesn't believe them, and it feels like a video game. And you walk out of it just not nourished. Your need for storytelling just isn't nourished the same way. They're still fun, but they don't last. But
it's unbelievable. When you see that stuff, it's just you don't buy it.
You don't. Yeah. No matter how good it looks.
When you're doing an animatronic costume, you want to have the eyes blink, the eyes move around, and that adds extra cost and extra weight to any kind of costume. Well, now you can build a costume, and the eye blinks, which are like a little momentary thing, that can be enhanced in post.
Yeah.
So you're kind of working together on budgets and also look. I think it's a great time.
Yeah.
All these tools, it's so democratic. Everybody can do it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing, like Mad Max Fury Road.
Oh,
like just like that film blows me away because like that like they're doing the actual car stunts.
I know, it's so insane.
And like just watching the behind the scenes on how they even filmed that thing when all of the cars moving, like holy crap, that's to me like one of the most like that's like a modern marvel of film.
Oh,
to
totally.
Like,
Totally.
it was just amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you could just tell it's something visceral about those cars, what they do.
And they're actually ramming into each other. It's real fire. It's people doing real stunts. Yeah,
Jumping
it
back
was
and
so
forth
amazing.
on their cars. Like, oh man.
Yeah, and he was 70 years old when he directed
anybody's
that.
films, but
What?
yeah, not to diss anybody's films, but Fast and Furious, when they've got these cars jumping over submarines kind of popping out of the ice, it just gets so over the top that I kind of disconnect a bit. It doesn't have the same visceral excitement. Oh, is that just me?
No, it's.
No, I'm with you there.
I'm with you too. Yeah, George Miller's doing another. He's doing another Mad Max. Luckily,
Oh wow.
it's going to be a prequel to
Nice.
Fury Road. So yeah, I can't wait. He said because I was concerned because after he did Fury Road, he was like 70 years old when he did it. I think he said this was the most exhausting thing I've ever done. I'm never going to do another one of these. But sure enough, after a while, he came back around. But yeah, I mean, I thought that movie was robbed for not winning Best Picture. Because that was it was so sensational. But I was glad that it was nominated because it shows the industry's recognizing movies that are just, and that goes back to what we love about cinema, right? Not just the movie itself, but the effort that it took to make something that sensational and every last thing from the people performing the stunts. I think some of which worked for Cirque du Soleil. I mean, it was so beautifully done. But the effort that went into that, it's pretty amazing. And you can feel it.
I know. I can, and knowing some behind the scenes kind of techniques and things when I watch it, it's kind of painful. I'm amazed knowing what they had to go through to get those shots. It blows me away.
Yeah.
I think that's a part of it too, is that it's movie magic is slowly dissipating just naturally. I mean, it has to, because like there's so much flow of information. You have the internet, all the behind the scenes, how things are made. It's getting harder and harder to show people something they've never seen before.
Yeah.
And, especially when everybody knows how to do it. Like back in the day, like you saw like some of that Star Wars effects, like nobody had any idea how they did that. They were like, what? And there was no way to find out. And now you can just like Google, like, how did they do this? And it's like, so it's like I feel like the film genre is constantly fighting this battle of like trying to show people something they haven't seen before.
Yeah, Fury Road did that for me in a big way. I'd never seen anything like that.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I feel like we're going to return to Fury Road throughout the rest of this conversation. Yeah, no, I mean it's a funny time because practical is making such a resurgence, and when seeing people like Guillermo del Toro saying let's build as much as we can and enhance things with digital, and J.J. Abrams basically declared that with the new Star Wars series. I think that's why they were so well received, is because people want things that they can actually feel. And Baby Yoda was a $5 million practical effect. That puppet cost $5 million to make. All the levels
is that true?
Yeah, that's what I read.
Wow,
really?
Yeah, all the different levels of articulation and.
John is a big fan of practical. I mean, he just hands down, he'd rather have something physical there. I mean, he's ace when it comes to the Lion King and Jungle Book. He knows how to use that new technology well, but he likes to anchor characters within a real world. Mm-hmm. And I think Baby Yoda is a prime example of that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that thing's adorable. I wanted to adopt it. Apparently, when Werner Herzog was on set with it, he would like talk to it and coo at it, and people, as if it was a real thing, he would interact with it. Everybody said it was the most hilarious thing they'd ever seen. And he just wouldn't stop. He treated it like it was a real thing. Yeah. Anything else in terms of, as far as practical effects that you guys have seen lately that you're excited about? Any movies that are championing practical in a great way?
Well, I mean, I'm always interested in stop motion. Have you guys seen Chuck Steele and the Trampires?
No, what is that?
No.
England or maybe Ireland. It's an incredible stop motion feature, and it's beautifully designed, and it's got this really like a violent edge to it, something I've never seen before in stop motion. Check it out, Chuck Steele.
Okay.
I forget the guys. Mike Mort, I think, might be one of the principals. I'm so bad with names, but you can Google it and check it out. It's just really, really great.
That sounds
nice.
Awesome.
There's this guy, Barnaby Dixon. I don't know if you guys have seen any of his stuff. He makes these little puppets with his hands, but he has this little chickadee bird and stuff, but he uses black light to hide his hands. And then he did some of the segments, one segment for the Dark Crystal, the new one. Like when there was a flashback scene, you see his kind of puppets, and the way he moves, it's like I want to see him do more feature work or something, be the art director on it, because it's just the way he makes all these different puppets with fingers and stuff. It's so they're so evocative. You got to look it up. Barnaby Dixon. Yeah, I have seen that work. It's great. A great technique.
That sounds pretty cool. Is it like a kid show, or is it more for adults?
Well, Barnaby Dixon's the guy that makes the puppets. He just kind of went viral. He just made some puppets and posted videos of them, and then I guess that's how he landed the job with the Dark Crystal.
Oh, okay, got it. Cool. But yeah, I mean, I miss having those kind of, and I grew up on a lot of kids shows or kids movies and shows that were a little too edgy for kids, and I think that was stuff that was a little too scary. For instance, Ernest Scared Stupid scared me stupid. That scared the shit out of me,
dude.
It was so frightening.
One of my biggest influences, man. And it's funny, I didn't even find out that you guys worked on that until later.
Holy shit.
Until a couple of years ago. I rewatched it, and then I saw the credits, and I was like, how did I not know this?
Oh, wow.
That's funny. Yeah, that's all of Charlie's designs there for the trolls.
So
he worked
good.
with Mark Cherry, the director, who had all the designs in his head, and Charlie just kind of fixed them up and Chiodo sized them.
See, if you wonder where I got all of this gross snotty creatures and stuff, it's from watching that movie on repeat. That was huge inspiration to me, man.
Yeah. Now I missed the time of kids movies and kids sensibility, and it was a little too scary. And I think that was intentional. I think they specifically wanted kids to kind of push their own boundaries and toughen themselves up by watching stuff that was a little scarier than they can handle. But I feel like there isn't anything out there for kids that's, remotely like Ernest Scared Stupid or even Labyrinth, which is not particularly scary, but does have a little sexual edge that's not quite appropriate for kids. But kids stuff nowadays it's just, I don't know, it feels too anemic to me.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think they're trying to not offend anybody. Yeah. I mean, the early Disney cartoons always had a lethal edge. I mean, in Snow White, when that huntsman went after Snow White, he was going to cut her heart out.
Oh, right. Forgot about that.
So and that goes back to Grimm's fairy tales, the classic fairy tales. It was a reality of death around the corner. And I think if you protect kids from that, it's not a good introduction to the world.
No.
So we always like putting that kind of stuff in our stories, just a bit of reality edge with all our families.
Yeah, no, I feel like it's important. Yeah,
it's weird too, because it's we're going into a society that, like you said, it's everybody's too worried about offending everybody and stuff. And here's where I'm at. It's there is a definite, we should be considerate of other people for sure, but we all find ourselves in this human mess that nobody knows how to make sense of, and humor is a great tool to process that. Stand-up comedians do an important job of joking about the stuff that nobody really likes to talk about. And and sometimes that's like Dave Chappelle, man, he'll just say whatever, and he makes it funny. And it's I feel like we have to, we just got to figure it out as a society, but we can't be so offended by everything. I don't know.
It's bad now that no comedian wants to go to college campuses at all. Not even Seinfeld, who's clean as a whistle, won't go to college campuses because he'll get protested. What? There's nothing remotely offensive about anything he's ever said. But now, and college campuses used to be just these beacons of opening your mind to different ways of thinking and engaging in discourse with people and challenging ideas and things like. And it is not that at all. If you're not on the right side of somebody's narrative, you're just shunned on a lot of campuses, and it's toxic for comedians. And comedy used to be the great unifier, and I think it was something that was very healing for a lot of people, as Sig was talking about. But I don't know, it's a strange time. I hope it doesn't last very long, though. I'm hoping it doesn't.
So too. It's not good for education. I mean, that's just it. You can go to college, you have your peers, people your own age. They have different points of view, but what's bringing you together is the fact that you're at the same age and you're in the same location, which is a great, a great ground to start conversation. But to start limiting because you offend somebody, that's really the wrong thing to do.
Yeah.
Most of the rights that we have is based because of the people at the fringe saying things that are offensive and, pushing the limits. Like, we need a constant, artists have to constantly push the limits to create space for people to explore themselves and ideas, because the world is constantly wanting to shrink down into a conservative little ball of conformity, and artists are pushing it out and trying to create a space where people can explore. And I think that's why artists is so important, is to push the limits and show people that, that there's more, Yeah.
And if artists are afraid of offending somebody, it's going to limit so much incredible potential.
Oh, well, yeah, I know. You have to consider how somebody's going to react while you're creating. That's just a big obstacle for any kind of innovative, creative endeavor.
Yeah.
It's just wrong. And the thing is, it's the safest way to look at somebody's point of view. Look at the most grotesque, whatever you disagree with the most, watch it. And it's not going to affect you. It's not going to, just watch it. And it's a safe way to experience it and to just consider somebody else's shoes.
Yeah, it's important. I think discourse is important, and that's not what's happening as much anymore. People aren't openly, calmly discussing the things they disagree about. But anyway.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I had to, after going on Face Off, I actually had to edit a lot of my art.
Really?
The Sci-Fi's legal team, made me take down a bunch of Suck MC videos and stuff like that. And
man.
It kind of and I wanted to keep a good relationship with them because they were actually opening up opportunities and new doors and stuff for me. So I complied, but for a while there, that's when I was in my deep dark times, because I was editing myself and I couldn't be the artist that I wanted to be. And then I developed through the show, I actually developed a really young fan base. And I was like, man, okay, all of my stuff is substance abuse, crazy, again, not really kid friendly stuff. But now I'm getting to the point where it's you know what? I just have to do me, and then whoever finds what I do, that's not my responsibility. You know, it's I'm just here to show the world the way I see it. And
that's so surprising that you were so heavily censored, because they don't seem, Sci-Fi as a network doesn't seem like it's trying to be so squeaky clean.
Oh, but it's the network, and Sci-Fi is owned by who?
Yeah, somebody huge.
I mean, who knows at the top of that food chain?
Yeah.
So there is something, and there's liability, I think they would say, on their side if somebody gets offended, if somebody does something.
Oh God!
One of the artists that they're promoting, it's it's good. It's a double-edged sword. It's good to be part of that big machine, Sig. I'm sure you benefited a lot from it, but there is a downside to that as well. And play them both.
Yeah.
Well, it's I tried to take what I could from that, and now it's time to be a rebel.
So considering both of you are such big character creators and have such a really strong sense of your own kind of universe, there's a Chiodo universe and there's a Sig Neutron universe, I'm curious as to how do you both know when a character is done as you're developing a character? At what point do you look at it, particularly if it's something that you're crafting, and you say, okay, it's done, it's alive, we're ready to go? Is there a particular moment where you realize, okay, it's done?
Well, I mean, think about. I could look at your work, Sig. I mean, doing makeup. It's a really cool thing where you have a design 2D. If it starts out 2D, then you got 3D, and then when you apply that to an actor, it goes to this next level. So when do you really see your character coming to life? It's really at the end, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The performance.
Yeah, definitely. And then I don't know, when character creation. I just recently started like sketching stuff, and like I'll just like scribble, and then I'll see a face, and then I'll start refining that face, and then I just have this character, and I usually like add like clothes or something, and then it's like I don't know. I look at it, and then it's like I almost immediately know a story. It's almost like I've seen this creature before. It's somewhere else, and maybe I have. Who knows? But it's like, they feel like alive. I feel like I don't necessarily feel like I'm creating them. I feel like I'm remembering them from the past.
It's funny what you mentioned there. I thought it happens to me too. When you're creating a character, but there's a story, and as you're designing and you're sketching or you're sculpting, you're thinking and you're creating a storyline. So at the end of the day, maybe when it's a character is when you've got the storyline that links up with the image.
Yep. I think that's it. It's the story for me is everything to the character.
Working with clay was pretty cool, but now working in ZBrush, a computer software, the design goes so fast that you can start cranking out variations so quickly, and it's a real blast. And yeah, like you were saying, it's the story. What is the story behind this character? What is the arc?
Well, that's interesting that the story comes as you're crafting the character, because most people would think that the story would come first and the character would come second. But as the character is coming to life through your hands, that's when the story starts to unfold.
It goes like that with me. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, usually. Unless it's like I had to make a character for a specific set of parameters to start with. Mm-hmm. But yeah, if I'm just creating freeform, it's always the story always comes after I start seeing the character.
That's interesting. Yeah, Steve Johnson.
That informs the design.
What's that?
And as you see the character story, that informs the design as well. Then you start adding details and costuming, and it's elements that get added, and you're building upon each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I was working on the Skellabang Kid story. It's like a sci-fi western, which Steven, I want to totally talk to you. This would be like an amazing stop motion thing. I'll show you some stuff sometime. But I just drew this like weird skeletal cowboy dude, and he had like bangs, and you couldn't see his eyes. And I was like, that's stupid. That's funny. But then like when I saw that, I was like, oh man. So yeah, he has this story. It's like nobody's ever seen his eyes and lived to tell the tale, and that was his whole story hook. Like he was like traveled the wild west of space, and like that was his cowboy story hook. It's like you'd never see his eyes, and then it's like boom. And then I started from there, and I started building this whole thing, and I'm like, holy crap! Now I have this whole like story, and it's like a big epic. And it's just from like a skeletal man with bangs. Like,
well, I tell you that's great. A great one-line pitch that opens up a whole bunch of stories. Great to me.
Yeah.
So, Steven, I know you're a teacher. Do you teach effects as well, right? Do you teach sculpture? Or
no, actually, I teach up at Cal Arts, and I'm specifically into stop motion.
Oh, okay, got it.
It's puppet fabrication for stop motion and performance and direction in stop motion.
Okay, got it.
And some BFA introduction workshop classes and things like that. It's really great. Boy, talk about young talent coming up. Cal Arts really attracts a great stream of talent. It's just great. And I learned so much just working with the students.
That's cool. Their
ideas, where they're pulling things from and what they want to do always pushes me to the tip of my ability. But it's a great profession.
Well, I'm sure you both get hit up for advice all the time from aspiring effects artists. So beyond things like learning how to sculpt and paint and be able to render things in a way that's realistic, what are some of the other hard skills you think are important that you might not learn at Cal Arts or the Savini School that are required for building and creating characters and effects?
Wow.
Well, I think if you want to do it professionally, I think you have to cultivate people skills as well. It's not a lot of people think about that, but to work in industry, it's a lot of networking, and it's a lot of like you could be the best artist ever, but if you're kind of a jerk, like nobody's going to want to hire you or work with you. Right. So I would say like that's something important to think about. If it's something you want to do professionally.
It's a collaborative art form, working in film and television. So you're not just working alone in your own shop. You're actually interacting with other technicians, other artists, and it's a shared vision. And talk about making it a career. I never thought of starting a business I'm not really business minded, but my passion for doing this style of animation or this industry, in order for me to do what I wanted to do, I had to start a company just to facilitate the equipment and the business and the cash flow and all that stuff. So just being, just being aware that you're going to have to get into the business or find a partner you can trust who's going to handle the business. Fortunately for me, I've got a younger brother who is not just artistic, but he also has a sensibility about the legal and the business aspect and the financial aspect of budgeting and things that kind of keep you on track. This way I can focus more on the artistic endeavors. So finding a creative producer to work with as an artist is another really, it's an important factor for pursuing it as a career.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what's so cool about like you guys as the Chiodo Brothers. It's like each one of you have your own little like area of expertise, and you guys just seem to like really like work together. Like, and it's so cool. You guys are brothers, and it's like, you know, it started. Each one of you like sort of runs it in a different way, and that's how it like flows. It's just cool to see.
Oh, actually, it's kind of worked out well for us. I mean, we all have our different areas of focus, but I think because of our backgrounds, there's a commonality in vision. Not exactly the same. We all have different individual lives. So I think it kind of makes it interesting. We've had fun doing it.
Yeah. The older I get, the more I realize my goal in life is to be a professional version of myself as a child. And it seems like that's what you guys as brothers must have been doing something similarly. I mean, as you're doing now. I mean, as kids, were you guys always cooking up monsters and ideas and making little films and stuff?
That's the joke, Nick. We're doing exactly what we did when we were little kids.
Nice.
We go out there. Yes, exactly. We would come up with storylines. Charlie would do storyboards, and I would make the puppets, and we'd strap all our equipment on our bikes, and we'd go to these exotic locations like Burrs Lane or Fire Island to do some monster movie filming. And it's funny, when we were co-producers on Sid and Marty's Land of the Lost, the revival in the 90s.
I remember that.
We were laughing because we did exactly what we did as kids on that TV show. We did perspective shots, putting puppets in front of the camera, shot in conjunction with people in the background to make the monsters look bigger. We shot people running around with invisible creatures that we would then put in later in post. It was exactly the same stuff. And it was a big hoot.
That's super cool. Yeah, they say if you want to learn what to do with your life, observe what you did as a child when you weren't pressured by parents or teachers.
Yeah,
that's such a good,
It wasn't a way to make a living. It was just a way to have fun.
Yeah. No, but
I think that's where the magic comes from. It's having fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Well, on that note, anything we didn't get to that you guys are dying to talk about?
No, but I'll tell you this. Overall, it's a great time to make films, to create images. There are so many fantastic tools that compete head-to-head with all the professional work out there. You can shoot HD now, and what we didn't have back then was distribution. Now with the internet, Vimeo, all these platforms you've got, now people can see your work, react to it, and the industry's looking at that content on the internet for new talent. So it is the best of times to create content.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing how a lot of studios, people are getting deals just by putting stuff up on YouTube. And like Fede Alvarez, he got to remake Evil Dead, and he's doing a bunch of other stuff now. He's producing the Texas Chainsaw remake, which I have a feeling in his hands will be pretty substantial. But yeah, he put this incredible short film up on YouTube and got a deal for Evil Dead shortly thereafter. I mean, it's pretty amazing. And the guy who did the Kickstarter for, what was that called? He just got a deal with Spielberg a couple of years ago. It was like a very hammy Miami cop sort of thing, and he has to go back in time to fight Hitler, and it all looks like super analog VHS.
Oh, Kung Fury?
Kung Fury, that's it. Yeah.
Oh.
Spielberg is producing his like a full length version of Kung Fury, and it's going to be sensational. Yeah, but yeah.
See, that's great. So now there's no excuse.
There is no excuse.
You know what? You have the passion, you've got the tools, you've got the stuff, just do it. And at any level. You don't have to do the biggest high budget level stuff.
Right.
The handmade, low budget stuff, as long as it's got good characters and tells a good story, that's all people really care about. In fact, the more polished it is on the internet, the more suspect people are. That is probably by a larger company. More handmade, the better.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of been my thing right now, because like I didn't make as much as I wanted to, like video wise, because I was worried about it being polished and like it's got to look good. But now I've embraced the crappy green screen, and just it adds a goofy charm to it, and it's like, and that allows me to make more faster because I'm not worried about I always say you can spend your whole life making one masterpiece, or you can spend your life making an entire wonderful, diverse body of work. So that's where I'm at now, just cranking out stuff and having fun, and don't worry about if it's polished. All you had to worry about is making an impact on people,
Yeah.
And it shows your work is always fun.
Thanks.
What are you going to do what Randy's going to dress up as?
Me too.
The Trejo thing freaked me out.
That looks fantastic.
What'd you say?
Oh, the stuff that Sig is putting on Instagram, was your Patreon?
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Fun characters.
It's awesome
Thanks.
stuff. Before we wrap up, are you guys watching anything good, either shows or movies, now that there's a lot of time?
Upload on Amazon Prime was amazing.
I haven't even heard of that.
It's basically, the story is, it's in a future, like a near future, where if you die, you can upload your consciousness to, they call it a heaven, different heavens. But it's like, it's set up like there's in-app purchases and stuff. So it kind of like, it turns into this like nightmare because you have to like buy all this stuff, but you're dead. So your family is like paying for it. And it brings up all of these like really interesting ethical questions about death and society. And so I would highly recommend Upload on Amazon Prime.
Awesome. I'll definitely check
I'm
that out.
revisiting PBS now.
Yeah?
Nice.
Yeah. The documentaries. It's really interesting. Yeah.
PBS?
Yeah, Channel 8 here.
Oh,
in
just
LA.
just the channel. Got it.
Yeah.
Nice. I got into Castlevania, Sig, on your recommendation. I'm loving it. It's really, really good.
It's good.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Cool. Guys, this was a blast. Let's do this again sometime. Maybe we'll bring Steve Johnson in as well.
Oh, that'll be a hoot.
Yeah, that would be fun. Yeah, they're pretty insane too. It's pretty scandalous stuff. Did you guys ever work together, like directly on something? No, right? You and Steve?
No, we never did. He had a studio just up the block from us in Burbank.
Okay.
And we attended one or two of his parties, which were really cool. But no, it's look, there's no real competition between effects companies.
Yeah.
We did jobs. We'd been on the same things sometimes. People would hire us for our look. They would hire him for his look. I think we did work together on Freaked.
Oh, nice. You were on Freaked?
Oh, yeah. We did stop motion, the Gumby.
Oh, okay, yeah. I love that fuck you, Gumby.
He was the one that wanted to get every effects guy in Hollywood. He wanted to give them one shot. So we had our shot. Dave Allen had a shot. I think Lazarus, everybody. And Steve Johnson had a lot of the major characters in there. But yeah, that's the one show we might have worked together on.
I didn't realize that was the philosophy behind it, by giving a bunch of artists one shot, because it's such a hodgepodge, but it also kind of is unified. The aesthetic of all the creatures, they feel like they can cohabitate in the same universe. But
I think the universe is so diverse that it kind of tolerated different styles. But that was what I was told when we had the big meeting. He wanted one shot from everybody.
That's so cool.
It's such a beautiful like snapshot of the golden era of effects, really.
Yeah.
I think, in my opinion. It's like,
I'd love to see another movie like that, where it's just you build a plot and a story around the effects in a way. And it's such an insane showcase. I'd love to see something that has the same philosophy.
I'm trying.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll jump aboard that. Sounds great.
Awesome. Well, guys, this was a blast. Thank you both. This was super duper cool. It's great talking to you both.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Both you guys. It's a great conversation. Thanks for inviting me.
Great.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you. I will send this your way as soon as it's ready to go.
Oh, great.
Awesome.
All right, guys, you take care. Wash your hands.
Will do. I got my sanitizer. Got my heavily coveted sanitizer.
All right, take
All
care.
right, guys, be well. Anyway, guys, thank you as always for listening, and happy holidays to you and yours. If you enjoyed this episode, why not share it with your friends and family on social media? Don't forget to follow the show on Instagram at I'm Nick Taylor, I am Nick Taylor, and on Twitter at the same handle. Thanks again for listening to the Nick Taylor Horror Show.